Miss Seabelo SE. Today I'm going to be with you for the lesson of Mathematical Literacy Grade 10. Teacher Seabelo is teaching at school DLL Secondary in Waterberg District in Elisras Circuit. Today's lesson, to the listeners at home and learners, we are going to focus on topic in finance, but strictly on financial documents and tariff systems. Learners, can you please make sure that you have somewhere where you're going to write, where you're going to take your own notes as we'll be going through this lesson. In this session, for financial documents, we'll be working on the following. We will be working on documents which are relating to personal or household finances, including household bills. We will be speaking of, for an example, electricity bills, water bills, telephone bills, cell phone bills, and etc. Amongst those, you can even include shopping documents, which are till slips from where you can shop, and your account statements. Then the other things would be banking documents, e.g. and the banking statement, and the fee structures and household budgets. They are all the documents which are related to personal and household finances. And again, on financial documents, we'll be working with documents relating workplace and small businesses finance. Those are the documents including the pay slip, the budget, the quotations, the invoices, maybe the travel allowance or claim forms which one can make, and the banking details also. In our day-to-day, those who knows how they deal with their financial documents, in most cases when they inquire, they'll be told it's a computer error. It's a computer error. It's an easy excuse that is used by most companies when they overcharge you for a service. If you are a smart person and you can pay attention to the rates they quote as well as the tariffs that they charge, you can save yourself a lot of money. And then through to this financial documents, one, if they analyze and they check them accordingly, they'll be able to save themselves a lot. So learners at home, I know that you are not yet dealing with those, but you can help your parents if they allow you to go through their details, and then in a way that you'll be able to save them money such that they can buy you something, an extra present on that Christmas. Our topic on financial documents, tariffs and tariff systems, leads you to have a great journey of knowing how to deal with the following. By the end of this topic, you're supposed to be knowing a lot of things, but you learn how to read bills and account statements with an eye of analyzing information on the statement. And then once more, you will learn on how to calculate the tariff for municipal services. You will learn how to calculate VAT on an item, and lastly you will learn to calculate tariffs on a variable rates based on the consumption made. There are important keywords, one would say terminologies, which are likely to be used when dealing with financial documents and tariffs. Words like service, consumption, tariffs, sliding scale, rates, VAT, date or period of the document, opening and closing balances, credit and debit, payment due. In payslip you might find UIF, net pay, gross pay deduction, taxable income, income, expenditure, profit or loss, items and quantities, tax rates, tax brackets, pay and site, the caps pay AYE and SITE, the interest rates, the repayment amount and periods, residuals, real cost or total cost, and so many more that can be found in a financial document. With service, they normally render a service for you and you pay. But if in case you're not good in analyzing the financial document given, then you might be paying or you might be overcharged. When you use a service such as a bus, electricity, or a phone, you have to pay for the service. And when you pay for the services, depending on how much you consume or how long you use this service, you might pay, maybe let's say for an example, you pay 1,200 for someone to paint your roof, and then if the painter takes 3 days to paint that roof or just 1 day, you'll still have to pay that very same amount of 1,200. But the situation is different to a situation where this is not. When you pay electricity or a telephone bill, for electricity you will pay more using maybe let's say 450 kilowatt hour of electricity than if you use 300 kilowatt hour of that electricity. So that's the situation we come across when we are analyzing household bills, and we have to pay close attention to those bills. Then we'll be looking into tariffs. Tariff system, they say it's a basic amount charged for a service rendered. Service rendered, something that you are offered or you get charged for, unless if it is stipulated or it's free. Then we will be calculating tariffs system using the formula. Have your pen and paper ready, right? Tariff, the word tariff is equals to the common fraction of cost as the numerator, cost, and then division line, number of units consumed as the denominator. Then that's how you're going to calculate the tariffs. And then with financial documents, there is information about money, the bank statement, the account statements, which one would have, and there is water consumption, which mostly is measured in kiloliters. Kiloliters, the small k and the small letter L represents kiloliters. That's the unit we use to measure water consumption. A kiloliters, it's equivalent to 1,000 liters. Remember, in other topics which we did conversions, where we know that the smallest unit that we can measure water or any liquid, it's milliliter. Then the middle one would be a liter, 1 liter, which will be equivalent to 1,000 milliliters, and then a kiloliter is equivalent to 1,000 liters. And then we go for electricity consumption, which is measured in kilowatts. Then the kilowatts hour, it's the units which are used in measuring the consumption of electricity. Then in most cases, when you see kilo, you relate it to 1,000. Kilo related to 1,000. And then we have VAT, which is defined as value added tax. Value added tax in our country is charged at 15%. So in less updated books, it still speaks of the VAT of 14%. But due to our current state, we are bound to use the 15% unless otherwise stipulated. And then this VAT of 15%, it is an amount that is calculated, or a price for the service or a good. Then we'll see, I'll show how to calculate that. And then we have some staple foods or transport which are exempt from VAT. Even export goods are exempt from VAT. In this way, they more speak of the items or goods or the services which you can get without paying VAT for them. And then we have accounts and statements. Account and statements that are sent monthly. They are sent monthly for money you should pay for the service delivered. These services, like I said, they include electricity, water, and rates for those who are living in urban, and electricity, of course, for even in the rural area, and water might be. And then when payments are made late, you should know that for late payments there will be a late payment charge which will be incurred in whatever the amount you're supposed to pay. Learners, when you set up your own and have to start working, you will receive many bills, depending on how, of course, you do open accounts or how you do spend. Your lifestyle will be having some bills which you're supposed to pay. Water and lights, there are bills from municipalities in most cases, and bank statements, those which you can use to check frequently and analyze how your money is working. And the phone bills, more commonly for young people, and even older people, they still do pay those phone bills. The grocery bills, which you also pay. Remember, you cannot live without eating, of course. And the most crucial one that one needs to pay attention to, it's tax statement, because it's very important for you to pay tax. It's very important for everyone to pay tax. It is a good idea to learn how to understand the statements and make sure that you check those tariffs and make sure that you are not being overcharged. When you use this service, you should also do the following. You should you should always ask for what fees are involved. This one you should always check what fees are involved, and you should check the rate of the fees or tariffs. You should check the rate of the fees or tariffs. You should read the details of the fees, and you should calculate the percentage tariffs. And also you should look for errors in the billing. You must make it a point that you are able to detect those errors. Only when you did these 4 things, you asked for the fees which are involved in the, you checked the rate of the fees and tariffs, you read the details of the fees, and on your own you calculated the percentage tariffs. You can use the formula which I've already said on calculating the percentage tariffs, and on calculating tariffs which are being incurred on your bill. Look at errors so that you never pay for the service which was never rendered to you. One would say you need to know your rights as a consumer or a customer. Therefore, you must make sure that you will not take an offer for a service at face value, meaning that whenever a service is being rendered, you must make sure that you go and check for all these things which I've said you should check, such that you may get the service that you are really paying for. Here is the first example that we're going to do. Please make sure that you have your pen and you have your book or scribbler where you're going to write. Are you ready? Yes, let's start. The first example, it reads, a certain business or certain company, it pays the amount of 3,420 excluding VAT for using 2,600 kilowatt hour of electricity. the unit kilowatt hour is written kWh. And then that is the statement we have on this example. A certain business pays 3,420 excluding VAT for using 2,600 kilowatts of electricity. Then the first question on the statement, it says, what is the tariff per kilowatt hour? What is the tariff per kilowatt hour? Then they say you must give your answer in rand. You must give your answer in rands. And then let's write again the second question. The second question says VAT is charged at 15%. Then calculate the total amount that the business should pay, inclusive of VAT. Calculate the total amount that the business should pay, inclusive of VAT. When we are going for solutions, one would say, given the 3,420, we must calculate the tariff. Then we're going to use the formula tariff is equals to cost as the numerator over number of units consumed. That would be the cost that this business pays. It's 3,420 over the number of kilowatts used. It's 2,600 kilowatt hour, and that amount would be R1.32. That would be R1.32 kilowatt hour per kilowatt hour. R1.32 per kilowatt hour. That is the tariff that we have calculated. In the second question, it says the VAT, the value added tax, is calculated at 15%, which will be a fraction of 15 over 100, which will be multiplied to the amount that is charged, which is 3,420. And calculating that VAT, the answer is, we calculate VAT using the fraction of 15 over 100 multiplied by 3,420, which gives the amount of rand. Then the question here, it speaks of calculating the total amount. Then the total amount would be the amount that this business pays, which is 3,420. We add it to the calculated VAT, which is 530. Then this would amount to be 3,933. That is the total amount. That is the total amount calculated. And then before we go for the second example, let me quote one of this author. His name is George Estlerson. George Estlerson stresses simplicity and common sense in management of one's finance. Simplicity and common sense in management of one's finance. You need to look at the following when you are dealing with one's management finances. You spend less than your income as a tip. You must spend less than your income when you get to be where you're supposed to find income. You must budget and plan your expenses carefully. You make your money and interest. Do not take risk with your money, but it's your home ownership. Somehow it's preferred than renting. You save money for future. You increase your ability to earn. But with increasing your ability to earn, vis-a-vis, do not take risk with your money. You can always take risk if you want to increase your ability to earn. And then studying your financial documents and organizing them for efficiently, you'll be able to save a lot of money. It will efficiently save you from paying the penalties, higher interest rate, and you won't be suffering from the sleepless nights. And you must open and pay your bills as soon as they arrive. As soon as you receive them, you must make sure that your service supplier has provided an accurate statement. Remember, if you are unable to read the statement with a good analysis, you won't be able to see if the statement is accurate or not. You must always keep a copy of the proof of payment with the relevant documents. This is the safekeeping of those statements. An invoice is a bill. It's a list of goods sent or services provided with the amount and the sum due for these services. So for example 2, we have with us the cell phone contract. With the service contract, with the cell phone contract that we are having, we are having in a tabular manner. We create a table of six rows and 2 columns. On the first column, we have inclusive minutes. Which are charged. We say inclusive minutes 120 open brackets of peak. It means on this cell phone contract you are given inclusive 120 minutes of peak. And then for SMSs and MMSs, we have SMSs for peak, which are charged at 80 cents. In rands, it will be written 0.8 rands. And then SMSs which are of peak, they are charged at 35 cents, which is 0.35. And then on there, that is the information on the first column of the table. The first row, inclusive minutes. The second row, skip. The third, SMSs for peak, which charge at 80 cents. Fourth one, SMSs of peak. The peak ones are charged at 80 cents. Of peak ones are charged at 35 cents. And then we have on the second column, subscription fee per month. At the top of the second column, subscription fee, open brackets, that is charged per month. It's amounting to 235 rand. And then the second row on the second column, domestic calls. And then on the third row, those domestic calls. We have on the third row calls to the same network, in brackets, during peak hours. They are charged at 1 rand 75 cents. And then the fourth row in the second column, we have calls to same network of peak, which are charged at 90 cents, which is 0.90 rands. And then we have on the fifth row, calls to another network during peak, which are charged at 2 rand 70 cents. And then on the last row, in the second column, we have calls which are done to another network of peak, which are charged at 0.95 rand, which is 95 cents. The table, it has got 2 columns. The first column for every day of peak, and the second column contract package. And then the first question on this example, we have the first question, which is asking how many of peak minutes Off peak day means calls which are coming through between 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. 8 p.m. late to 8 a.m. in the morning are included in the package subscription. In most cases, these questions which are asked, you do have the answers from this. You don't have to find them anyway. You don't have to calculate. You just have to pick them. Remember, on the first column, we said the first thing they spoke of inclusive minutes, 120 of peak. That is the answer for the first question. This contract has 120 minutes of peak, 120 minutes for calls which can be made between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And then the second question, how many peak minutes do you get in the included package subscription? With this one, when we look at this package, there is no way they specify or they speak of peak minutes which are inclusive. The only inclusive minutes are the off-peak minutes, which are the 120 minutes that we gave the answer to the first question. So for the second question, you can write none, or you can say there are no peak minutes which are included in the package, as you can see. And then the third question, what would a 5 minutes of peak phone call to a cell phone with another network provider cost? What would a 5 minutes peak call to a cell phone with another provider cost? Then we go to the table again. On the second column, we do have calls which are from one network to a different network during peak, which are charged at R2.70 per minute. Then the 5 minutes would be multiplied to the off-peak calls. Remember, the calls which are rendered from one phone to another phone with a different network provider during peak are costing R2.70, but the ones which are rendered during off-peak, they cost less, which is 95 cents. Then we'll be multiplying the 5 minutes to the 95 cents, which will give us the amount of R4.75. Multiplying 5 by 0.95, you'll get R4.75. And then the fourth question, it says determine the cost of the phone usage given the table below. There is a certain table which is given for the fourth question. The second table, it's more likely a similar table to that one. We have time and call. A table with two columns. The first column, time. The second column, calls. And then with the first column, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. 6 rows. Below time, the first time that is recorded in that table, it's 7:15 a.m. 7:15 a.m. under time. And the call, under call, the call, it was made for 46 seconds to a different number. And then second row, the time was 8 a.m. In 8 a.m. the call, no, they did not make a call, they sent an SMS. And then the second time at 11:37 a.m. 11:37 a.m. the call made was for 2 minutes 13 second call to a different network provider. And then the fourth call, it was made at 12:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. It was 5 SMSs under calls. And then at 8:08 p.m. the call made was for 4 minutes 50 seconds to a different network provider. And then lastly at 8 p.m. At 8 p.m. there was a call for 26 minutes 8 seconds to a different network provider. Now, with this, the given call, the time, the minutes, we are supposed to answer. Remember, we do have the rate for peak calls and off-peak calls. 7:15 a.m. it is included in the off-peak. It's an off-peak call, because remember, off-peak calls are from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Then the call that was made was 46 seconds to a different number. And we're going to get this because our calls are recorded in minutes. Then this is seconds. We're going to divide the given minutes, which is 46, by the equivalent seconds to a minute, which is 60 seconds. 46 seconds divided by 60 seconds, it will give us the 46 seconds in minutes. Then we'll multiply that to the amount that calls which are made to a different network during off-peak. During off-peak, which is 0.95. 0.95. We multiply that with the fraction of 46 over 60. Then we find this to amount which have charged this person 73 cent, which is 0.73 rands. And then at 8 a.m. at 8 a.m. it's during peak. It's during peak, and SMS cost 80 cent. And then at 11:37 we have only 2 minutes 13 cent. Then we'll have to have 2 minutes, it means 120 seconds plus 13, which is 136 seconds. We dividing that by 60 seconds, then we multiply with the rate for making a call to a different number during peak hours, which is multiplied at 2 rand 70. Then we'll be having 2.7 multiplied by fraction of 183 second divided by 60, which will give us 5 rand 99 cent. 5 rand 99 cent. And then at 12:30 p.m. they've sent 5 SMSs, which is during peak. We'll have 0.8 multiplied by 5, 80 cent multiplied by 5, which is charged at 4 rands. Then okay, listeners, our lesson will end here till we meet next time.